What's up, guys and gals, and welcome back to Nompton. My name is Splattercat, and we're here with the next episode of Gnomoria, in which I think we're probably going to pass into the next season here. We're going to be in summer, which means we're probably going to be under the threat of being attacked fairly soon. So as soon as they get that torch in right there, we are going to start some new mining operations. And what I'd like to do, oh, that's stairs up. What I want to do is I want to go dig stairs down. There we go. And so looking at what we have here, trying to space this out properly. I think I'm going to take them down to the... Let's go down to the -10. Because I think that's where 10 is really going to start. I know it shows up on... I think -10 is actually where on the wiki anyways it says that 10 shows up. So we'll start that digging job right there, and then we'll talk about some of the things that we want to make sure we do as we dig downwards, just to be careful, to be on the safe side. And so there it is. They can see I'm digging through on this layer here. And unfortunately, I appear to be one space off weak. So that's going to be super all kinds of ugly, which saddens me. It saddens me. It does not gladden me, but it does. Neither does it madden me. So I think I'll just stick with sadness as the main kind of thing that I feel right now with regards to what I'm trying to accomplish. On this place, though, I got it nice and spaced out, so it'll work out in the end. And we'll want to be very careful as we go down here. So we've already got what looks like some kind of emerald or something over here. Yeah, emerald. Okay. Things to be thought about. And the next thing we want to do is we actually want to wind this up just slightly so that we can stick a torch in each one. And actually on the -10 we can be a little bit more aggressive about the size of the room we make. Although I think I'm going to do this the safe way so that I don't mess up. I want this to be not like a perfect square, but I want it to look good anyways. There we go. And so that should look nice. And then once we've got this area cleared out, we're going to put one torch on each of these floors just to illuminate it, make sure that we don't get any nasty skeletal invaders or clay golems or anything like that later on. Things that I don't feel like dealing with. They're not particularly scary. A bear has been spotted. Okay. Well, the bear shouldn't bother us. He should just kind of disperse elsewhere eventually. The bear is kind of skittish in this game. They're not really terrified of you, but neither, well, they do run away, I guess, so they are terrified of us, and that's a good thing. I mean, when you're a tiny little 2-foot person, being able to scare off a bear just by sheer virtue of how terrifying you are, I guess it could be a function of how kind of cowardly the bear is, but anyways. Looks like we're not making it down to the end. Well, damn. So what I'll do then is we will go to the terrain menu. And what I'll do is I'll just wall these in, like so, with soil walls. And then it'll all work out okay. And so on this floor, we're going to go to our building menu. And we're going to jump into furniture, which is where the torches are hidden. I'll just build a torch right there, torch right there. And then as soon as this floor is prepared, we'll go ahead and build a new torch there. Oh, I went down to the -11. Interesting. So we'll have to throw a torch here, and I guess we'll start our mining on the 11th level unless we find anything interesting here during the short time that we're mining around. I'm hoping to find silver. I'm hoping to find tin and copper, actually, more importantly. Those are the two things that I really, really, really want. So let's go ahead and get a torch in here before I forget as well. If I can select the proper menu as things jump around on me. And I guess we'll get started kind of mining out this floor here. And in making sure everything's queued up that needs to be queued up, as opposed to like queuing or Ring or S'ing or whatever else. We've got all of our established buildings over here for all of our weird crafts like leatherworking, bone carving that don't necessarily fall under the confines of any of our other jobs. We'll assign those shortly. Drinks are looking a little bit skimp. And so what I'll do there is we'll assign them to make us some fruit wine. And I think we're going to use the strawberries to do that. And so we'll have that crafted up to, say, 35 wines. 35 strawberry wines at any given time. I enjoy a strawberry wine every now and again. I've had them, I think I've had them once or twice, actually. And I was pretty surprised at how decent they were. I'm not much of a wino, though. I don't drink a whole lot of wine. Don't drink a whole lot in general, anyways. Kind of ran through that phase when I was younger. And there's like, well, I think I hit like a brick wall when I turned like 23, where my hangovers just got so severe from just like everything. Or I was like, well, it may be time to just hang it up and be an old man. I don't know. I kind of hit like a brick wall with regards to drinking. Nobody else seems to have hit it though, so I don't know if it's just like bad genetics or what it is. In any case, it frees up my time to do other things like LP with you fine people. So I'm going to put down a torch right here. And the way that I'm going to mine this out is I'm actually going to go about 10 deep into each wall like so, just kind of exploring to see if we can find any veins. Now the veins in this game, there's a couple things that you want to be aware of. With the way that the veins work, they do cross multiple levels, so if you find ore like right here on this level, chances are it's right here on the next level up as well. So the ore does move around in 3 dimensions. It can become kind of cumbersome getting at it all. In general though, the largest amount of the expanse of the ore you're going to find is going to be on like the preliminary level where you find it. And I have the game paused right now, which seems kind of a terrible way to proceed. In fact, the game can't proceed at all so long as it is paused. That is the exact opposite. I have ceased the laws of physics within the world of Gnomoria. How weird would that be if just one day you couldn't move and like nothing else could happen, like your consciousness was frozen in space as well? I think that would worry all of us, except that you wouldn't even be aware of it, so I guess you wouldn't be that worried. It looks like we've hit something over here. Tin. Awesome. So having hit tin now, we need to find ourselves some copper. We've also hit, I think that's probably coal right there, so that's going to give us a little extra supply. And so before we go any further, I will assign our miners to go ahead and dig all of this out. Now there is I want to preface by saying my way of mining is inefficient in a couple of regards. There are 3-dimensional ways of mining that are absolutely just 100% about as efficient as you can get them mathematically. I will not be using any of those techniques here because I am just not the kind of person that cares enough to sit around kind of orchestrating such an amazing feat of engineering valor, I suppose. It's just, my attention span is way too short. I'll forget something, I'll screw it up, and then like the world will implode on itself and it'll be embarrassing. We'll throw in some torches in all of these locations, and my torch placement is also going to be very, very inefficient. You're just going to have to learn to deal with it. All of you OCD people out there, I understand you're like twitching and your toes are feeling weird right now, and you're slowly becoming aware of your own blinking, but it's okay. Don't worry about it. It's going to be alright. I promise. We're going to hang out together. I've brought paper bags. Everything should be okay. We'll just breathe heavily. We will respirate. And beyond that point, hopefully we'll find a way to just cure our collective neuroses. Okay, and so now that that's been finished off, I am going to queue up that job right there. We do have a lot of stuff going on at the moment, and that is always my huge concern about starting off these mining operations, is it gives your haulers a ton of stuff to do. It eats up a lot of your storage space as well, and so we may find ourselves in a spot where we just have like errant stone eating up all of our space. The other thing that we need to do is, oh my god, we need to send for a diplomat from the merchant city-state, I think is who we're going to send. So we will host an ambassador. It says he is on his way. And so what I'll do is, I think what I'll do is I'll build, let's go to furniture, and we'll build some doors, I guess. No, we've got a ton of extra stone. Let's just make him a stone door. I don't know if it's going to be enough to make him happy. I don't really know how this whole ambassador thing works out. But getting traders seems like a good plan. So we'll put in some stone doors. Nice. And then we'll designate an area. I think it's, I don't know. I don't know if it's in. Let's take a look and see if it's in any of the options right here. This is not something that I am familiar with, and so I don't think that's it. So we'll remove the designation. Maybe it's under personal room. Let's go ahead and designate it, and we'll go to personal quarters. And we'll assign that for, I don't know. I don't seem to see any location where an ambassador would be hosted. Luckily, we've got enough time to where he's probably not going to get here by the end of this episode, so you guys will suggest it down in the comments. I probably won't see it until it's too late, but what I'll do is I'll check the wiki right after we do this. I spend all kinds of time wikiing away. I'll take one last look, though, to make sure that I'm not glossing over it. Guard area, hospital area, dining room. No, that's indeed not it. Yeah, I don't think it's actually... Interestingly enough, I don't see anything that's just like jumping out at me as like, this is where an ambassador sleeps, so I'm not gonna stress about it too much. I will assign 2 of them just in case, and I'll call them vacant rooms for now. We will adorn them properly so that later on down the line we can get things done. I'm talking about all kinds of lines right now. I must be in like an artistic mood or something. They are installing the torches, which means that we are unlikely to be murdered by anything coming from the underground reaches of our kingdom. We've got a bunch of tin laying around now, which is going to be very, very nice. Hopefully, we find more. That's not nearly enough to keep us satisfied, or even to craft like a single piece of armor, to be honest. We need a lot more. I prefer to find some copper as well. So maybe we'll open up 2 separate locations of mining. And in opening 2 separate locations will increase our chances of finding some copper or something. At the bare minimum, I'm going to need like a ton of copper to make like 50 anvils before I get out of here. So another thing to think about. So maybe we'll hit a copper vein in here. That's going to be the next big hurdle. So we need to set up our metalworking operation. And the thing that I've been thinking about is we're going to need ourselves like 10... I mean, we're going to need a lot. We're going to need, I think, 5 anvils just to get started. And the anvils each take a ton of metal bars. And so that's going to be problematic in the early game. I'm not seeing a whole lot of metal either. So our metallic distribution is looking a little bit skimp at the moment, which is worrying me. Is that tin right there as well? Okay, so we've got tin over on that side. So that might be worth exploring. So I think what I'll do here is do something like that I can easily torch, and then once we get a feel for the way that that's like pitching or moving around, basically the way that that is striking and or dipping, we should be in a better position. Oh good, that's a pretty big patch right there, I'll take it. And so we'll probably plant a torch right in the center of this big room, although it looks as though, well, it might be going out in 2 directions, it's hard to tell sometimes. What is that, silver? Okay, so we've got a silver vein off on that side too. Looks like we've got like a lucrative mining plot down here. Everything should work out. I'm gonna put a torch right here just to say that I did. To avoid any accidents in between here and the next episode. And then the next thing that I want to do is... let's go to the stonemason. Because all my miners are working down below, unfortunately none of our building jobs are going to get done. That's okay though, I'd way rather have a huge metal supply right now than anything else, and this looks like this is going to be kind of the tin mother lode. I don't want to use tin to build any of my anvils or anything though, that's the part that's worrying me. So I prefer to use like a worthless metal like copper to get it done. And we are kind of getting towards the end of our first season, and so this is going to be a major concern. Ah, there's some. Good, 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 good. Much better. And so the other thing we're going to need, so let's go ahead and hollow this out so that we only need 1 torch. And they are getting pretty good at mining. That's the benefit, is they do level up. If you take a look at any one of your gnomes, they all have little skill sets. So we found a sapphire vein over here too. Okay. Cool, and so we've got sapphire over here, so once we get down to gem cutting later on, we'll be able to trade those out as well. They are worth quite a bit of money, especially if you can put them in some kind of silver setting. Could be a very, very lucrative business, kind of being a silver monger. Make sure that I put down another torch, and I know I've been kind of occupying myself with things underground right now, and this may not be the most entertaining of occupations. A lot of people don't like mining, they find it to be very, very boring. I'm not one of them, I prefer mining, I actually find it to be relaxing in a sense. So we'll put one right there, and we'll kind of do like a little space right here to see if it's going this way, or if it's going, my guess is that it's probably going like so. And so hopefully we'll capture the trajectory of this, or it'll just be like these tiny 4 spaces, which would be pretty bad. Okay, so it looks like it's going to be going in this direction. That's fine, we just need to get ourselves copper. That's the only thing that I care about right now. So let's go ahead, and I think it's probably going to be this big expanse right here. In fact, it may be even larger than expected. So we've got a torch going there. Let me make sure that every single location that needs a torch has one provided, because missing 1 torch can lead to an invasion later on. Or just like clay golems and anything else. Not necessarily monsters that are actually a problem, just monsters that en masse and added to other monsters that are a problem just kind of become the straw that breaks the gnomish camel's back. That's all we're going to get. I hope it kind of goes out this direction forever. Because if that's all that we get out of here, that's going to be insufficient for the needs that we have. The needs of the many that are kind of piling up at our back. No, it just looks like it's taking kind of a diagonal path on us. And I don't want a statue, I want to back out of that. And then what I'd like to do is we'll go for another torch right here. Just to make sure. And I know there's wall torches. I understand. It's just me being inefficient. And we definitely need to have this handled. Hold on. There we go, and in one day we should get ourselves some new gnomes, which will make this whole process, depending on what we get, it'll make our lives a little bit easier. If we get like a bunch of warriors, then no, all of our crafting will still be difficult. But if we get ourselves some other stuff, we'll probably be okay. The nice thing is, now that all the mining is done briefly, we can start working on other workshops. I am going to allow... Are we out of logs? 74. No, we're not out of logs yet, we're just out of coal. It'll be okay. Got a door waiting right there for one of our builders to install it. Farming seems to be going okay. None of our trees have grown back in. It might be a good idea to throw some of our woodcutters out to here once they're done with all the torches. But for now, I think it'll be alright. Do we have anybody brewing anything at the moment? I think that's included initially either in the farming queue. Like, I think farmers by default can brew. Let's have a look here. Go to farmer. They can do agricultural work right here. Cooking and brewing. So yeah, it is included in the default tile set for our farmers. What else is getting crafted right here? We've got all 3 marble doors are hanging out right there. I think they're just making more blocks. Never mind. As soon as people wake back up, we can get ourselves reinstalled with some more torchlight. Most especially down here on the lower level. Up here, semi-safe up here, but way down on this lower level, I would definitely prefer to have a torch down here. I think I can adjust its priority. Nope, not just yet. Maybe I can do it through the crafting menu over here if I knew which one it was. Yeah, it doesn't say what floor it's on. It'll be fine. We're not in too much trouble. We're still inside the first season, and so hopefully by the time that ambassador gets here, I'll know what to do with him. Other things that we want to focus on, at this point of the game, we want to set up a few more goals. And so, in moving the goalposts, you never want to consider this game to be completed. You always want to be shifting the goalposts a little bit further to make sure that you're doing things properly. I think what I'd like to do is put in some kind of flooring in our Great Hall. I probably should have done that earlier, too. Yeah, probably a good idea. And we could do that through the terrain menu. We could say, replace floor. Just kind of get that job started. I don't think we've got our net worth up high enough to ensure that we're going to get a ton of immigrants right now, but we can try for a few extra little bits. Oh, we're at 540. I'd prefer to have our kingdom worth up around 5,000 at the end of the first season, but things happened. There was a lot of stuff to get done, and so you know how it goes. Sometimes you just got to make sure that certain things get done as opposed to others. We're over here crafting up a bit more coal. Okay. And taking a look at where our torches have been placed or have not been placed. Need to make sure that they put them in down here. He is making torches, so that's fine as long as somebody's working on it. Looks like the flooring is coming along nicely, and how is that helping our... Okay, so we're already up by 150. I don't think we're going to get it done by morning. I mean, it's 7 o'clock. I think we've had ourselves on a bit of a night schedule, though. I don't know if people are on swing shift or how that's been working. And oh my god, if you've ever worked on swing shift, that is the worst thing on earth. You got 2 weeks of working during the day and 2 weeks of working at night. Miserable, miserable experience. If you work swing shift, my heart goes out to you because I've been there with you, buddy. And it is not a pleasurable schedule to be on in life. Although... I think I prefer the night shift. Me personally, just being who I am, working the night shift always seems a little bit better. I've worked night shift in inventory at a couple places, and then I've also worked night shift in retail, and I tend to prefer it, although it really depends where you are. Like if you're working retail, say, at the Arden Fair Mall at night in Sacramento, that would totally suck because then you're dealing with all kinds of just like weird, doped out people. I had a lady one time when I was working in retail, came into one of my stores like all methed out, and she just like pooped on the floor in my store, and I was like, really? Like, how did this malfunction happen? It was just one of those things that was so unbelievable that it boggles the mind. She was wearing a skirt and just plopped it right there in the middle of the... She didn't even squat or anything either. She just kind of just like stood there, and I guess she had herself in a position where it was just like, and out it went. I was like, wow, you were either incredibly self-confident, obviously like kicked her out of the store, but it's like, well, I guess we'll cast lots to figure out who gets to clean that up because that is gnarly. We actually had to call in a biohazard. We had like a specific machine that we had to call in from like corporate that had to come in and clean that up. We had to close the store down after it happened because it registers as like a biohazard or something like that. Kind of nice. Got myself like a little paid 45-minute break when we had to do it. Still, gross as hell and not something that should ever happen. One of the joys of working in retail. Put my torches in. Make this happen. Too many jobs running. They're building as fast as they can go, so I can't blame them. It'll be fine. How are we doing on straw, by the way? Let me take a look and see how our straw stocks are doing. And that was one of those things that I had said in the previous episode I was going to keep an eye on. We have 20 straw. I think we can afford to put in 2 more beds right now, especially since this harvest should be about ready to go soon. So let's go ahead and build ourselves 2 more straw beds. Just to speed up the sleeping process slightly. And any moment now, we should get ourselves some new gnomes. They should be trucking on in. Now, if we pull a 0 right now, it's one of those cases where it could be a early end for our entire colony if we get no gnomes. So you do want to be careful about that. I think they show up around 8 o'clock, as I recall. Although, our time does not appear to be passing. So I think our... Oh, never mind. It's over here. Never mind. So I think they show up around 7 or 8 o'clock, so it's going to be listed right here. I'm hoping for at least 4. If we can get 4, that'll be good for us. 1 or 2 is workable because I'll just assign them to be warriors no matter what they are. 0 means that basically our playthrough is going to be very short-lived. 4 nomads. So we got ourselves 4 nomads. I'm not going to name them right now. I'm going to name them in between this and the next episode because I don't have my list of names in front of me that I've generated. However, let's take a look at what we've got. You can do that through the population menu. And we will go to assign. And they will be labeled as nomads when they first start out. And so it looks like he's probably going to be a wood chopper from what I can tell. Which is good because there's lots of wood chopping stuff to be done. So we will take him from being a nomad and we will assign him to be a woodcutter. The next person we want to take a look at is going to be Napopo. Napopo appears to be a miner from what I'm seeing, with reasonable skills at blacksmithing, so I'll probably just assign her, since we folded blacksmithing into our mining quote, I'll probably just assign him to be a miner. We've got Flick, who is good at nothing, which leads me to believe he's probably a warrior, and so that's correct. And so in order to assign a military, we need to go ahead and give ourselves a squad. And so we're going to generate a new squad. I'm going to rename it, and they're going to be the Farts. And this is not just a crude joke. This is a joke that originates in one of my oldest series. So back when I first started doing towns, and just so you guys know this isn't a crude joke, I mean it is kind of a crude joke, but at the same time, it does have a background. So the FARTs, I have a friend that works for this huge biochemical firm in the area that I live, and they had done like a company meeting to decide, they had to do some kind of chemical disposal thing. So for example, at every, it's kind of, I guess it's like state legislature, at every location that has, they're like a level 2 or like a level 3, they were the second highest ranked biohazard research facility outside of the CDC in Atlanta. And so they had Ebola, they have all kinds of crazy stuff like on site there that they work with. And so having these things there are state laws and there are federal laws that they have to apply to that have to be adhered to anyways, not applied to, but anyways, they have to be adhered to. And one of those laws is that you have to have a team that is qualified and certified to dispose of and lock down the building in the case that any of these biohazard things gets out. And so basically, it's a team that's in charge of quarantining should like a vial of this stuff break on a floor, like Resident Evil. You saw the Resident Evil movie? Basically, it was all automated there, but they have a team at this place that's responsible for basically locking it down and committing suicide to make sure that this stuff never escapes. And so in a little bit of humor right there, they had to vote on the name of the team, and it was the First Action Reaction Team, or the Farts. And so you can imagine there's all these highly qualified PhD, doctoral students, etc. Kind of all these guys with PhDs in chemistry and all that kind of fun microbiology, and yet they've elected to call themselves the Farts. And so that's the background. So now you know that I'm not just being crude by naming them the Farts. It is the First Action Reaction Team. And so they're going to be our guys who jump into combat when the goblins decide to show up. And so now that that story's been told, I need to go in, and I'm really hoping this last guy is pretty good at fighting too. Taking a look at his skills, he is actually fairly mediocre, but he does have a good fitness score. I mean, it's okay fitness score. I think he's got good focus. He's not very good at many things. Oh, he's good at wood cutting. How disappointing. So what I could do is I could, like, multi-class him. We don't necessarily need another woodcutter. What we do need is, because the other guy is so good at fighting, I think he would train him up fairly quickly. I think I'm going to bite the bullet on this one, and we're just going to assign him to a squad. And so Glee and Flick will be the first two members of our first action-reaction team, and that leaves us with a job to get done here with the last couple seconds of the playthrough. I am going to assign, the extra miner will definitely help, and the extra woodcutter will help tremendously. And they're now being chased by a honey badger, who hopefully will get bored of chasing them eventually. And so we are going to lose somebody just as soon as we got him. That was one of those weird RNG things where it spawned a honey badger right on top of where our nomads spawned, and so one of our nomads is now going to die. And so there it is. Our first gnome is now dead. He should attempt to disengage eventually. I mean, I could assign him... Hold on, what are we doing here? Let's go with our squads. I'm going to assign... This is probably a bad idea. But I'm going to assign everybody to jump in here and see if they can't help out with this thing. We might lose a couple gnomes, and this is probably just an absolutely terrible idea. Is it even wounded right now? And so we've got like this legendary honey badger that's running around bothering us. And so what I'd like to do is let's go ahead and cut that off. Everybody's got themselves healed. We've got deceased, 1, 3 injured. They should be able to run back. They started us with a bunch of band-aids, so we should be alright. Let me go ahead and give the military the orders to avoid enemies. And that should go active soonish. I told you not to do this. I just cut you off and said don't do this. Basic formation. New. Avoid enemies. There we go. Let the honey badger have its way. Just let it have whatever it wants. I promise you our blood is everywhere. Great. Alright, so the blatant stupidity of our gnomes aside and not being able to react, there's kind of like a cyclical thing where it's got to do like some processor cycles or something before it decides to like back off on fights. I'm not sure exactly how it works. But anyways, now that we've lost one of our gnomes, unfortunately. Who was it that got killed, by the way? So yeah, it was one of our nomads. It was one of our woodcutters, in fact, I think. Little disappointing there, but people will die, and so I'm not going to get too hung up on it. The next thing that I want to do is build myself a training ground right there so that just this situation doesn't happen again. Flick has died too. How has Flick died? From what? Why are you still attacking? Avoid enemies. Here, avoid enemies. Oh my god. Okay, so I'm gonna break the episode off right here. My name is Splattercat. I'm gonna investigate why they're still chasing this idiot honey badger all over the... like dead set on dying. I'm not sure why they're not listening to orders right now. Just like stop, please. Is the pursue... it's gotta be the pursue targets is overriding everything. Here, maintain distance. There we go. And so hopefully my idiot gnomes will keep from dying and fighting with honey badgers. If you go back out there, I swear to God, if you go back out there. Oh my God, we haven't even, like, assigned... I have told you not to do this. Alright, well anyways, I'm gonna break the episode off here. It appears as though we're probably gonna go to an early grave because my gnomes won't stop fighting with this honey badger. I've tried everything to get them to stop, and unfortunately, it's just not going to work out. In fact, I'm gonna take you out of the military. You're done. Get the hell out of the military right now. Let me see if I can, like, catch them out of it or something. Let me see here. So we go first action, reaction team. Go to military menu. Turn the game... Stop! Damn it. Alright, so... So we've got Glee. No, she's still going out to fight with this honey badger. I have... That is the weirdest thing. Like, I'm not even sure... Well, given that I've exhausted most of my options here, I feel myself rapidly becoming a little bit frustrated with the fact that Glee is not listening to orders, and so... I'm not sure exactly what we've run into right here. I've never had a problem. Usually when I put on avoid enemies, they instantly just disengage from a fight as long as they have a little gap in between them and the enemy. I'm going to break the episode off right here and ponder it for a minute. Maybe take a second to cool down because I am feeling a little frustrated. I'll see you guys in the next episode. Take care out there, everybody, and hi-do.